there's a number of supplements that have a good effect on the nervous system. And really, that's what we're talking about. So I mentioned earlier fish oil. I think fish oil is very important. If your dog is vegetarian, they make fish oil. They make those same fatty acids that are found in fish and algae. You can get algal oil, and that can work quite well. We know that one of the fatty acids in algal oil or fish oil is called DHA. We know in puppies it affects the brain so well that it actually improves their training. So using fish oil early on while you're doing that, behavioral training can be very important, as well as just kind of lowering, that level of activity without sedating them, in the nervous system. B vitamins, something very simple. I mean, these days in the world of supplements and pet supplements, everybody's looking for very exotic, hard to pronounce supplements. But B vitamins have been around forever and they work great. And you can even give B vitamins in something else. For instance, nutritional yeast, very, very rich in B vitamins, can have a very calming effect. So looking at oils, fish oils, looking at algal oils, looking at B vitamins, very good. And then I'm an herbalist. I've been an herbalist for many years. I'm actually president of the American College of Veterinary Botanical Medicine. And so we look at using herbs. And there's a number of different versions of how herbs are used. For instance, there is Western herbal medicine where we might want to use something like chamomile or hops or passion flower or lemon balm. Very good herbs to help lower the level of anxiety of the nervous system. We call those nervines. There's also our Chinese herbs. Now, Chinese herbs typically are complex formulas with multiple herbs in them, maybe anywhere from 3 to 16 herbs, and they're designed to be used based on a Chinese diagnosis. So when you have a veterinarian or a human acupuncturist who could take your pulses and look at your tongue and palpate different acupuncture points, and that's what veterinary acupuncturists do as well, you can then decide that there may be some things going on in the animal in terms of its traditional Chinese medical diagnosis. Maybe it's got too much heart fire, or maybe it's got too much phlegm in the brain, or that's the language that we use in Chinese medicine. There are herbs that address that once you have that diagnosis. So going to see a TCM practitioner for your pet who's knowledgeable about pets can also be something to kind of constitutionally change the animal so they can be less anxious, and then we're talking about supplements, but to kind of pair that, acupuncture itself can be very calming. I'm not in practice anymore, but I've been doing acupuncture for 25 years in pets. And one of the biggest things that you do when they come into the exam room is you worry about how are they going to be able to stand having 15 needles in them for 20 to 30 minutes. That's a challenge. So you do things like there's certain points. There's a point up here. There's a couple of points in the ears. Oftentimes what I would do, the dog comes in, I just put 1 or 2 needles in because I know they're calming points. Sure enough, they calm that dog. So acupuncture can be helpful. And then getting back to the herbs, there's also our essential oils. I found early on that peppermint oil. Now we know, we think about lavender as being very calming, but peppermint oil itself is supposed to be kind of stimulating. But I found that if I put a couple of drops of essential oil peppermint in my palm and then rub the front paws of the dog in that the heat of the pads would be like an aromatherapy diffuser for the peppermint oil, which the dog would then smell. And within 5 minutes, you could just see it go, I'm calmer now. And then I'd put the point in the head that would calm them more. I'd go out, I'd talk to the owner about this and that. I'd get a history. I'd watch the dog because that tells you a lot about its TCM diagnosis. And then you'd go ahead and use the acupuncture needles. And in some dogs, we wouldn't use the needles. We'd actually make injections into acupuncture points with vitamin B12, especially for dogs that won't tolerate the needles. Use a very, very tiny needle and only like 1/10 of an ml. Sometimes you put homeopathics in that as well. And I'm not a great homeopath, so I haven't really mentioned the use of homeopathy, but there are some very expert practitioners of veterinary homeopathy who could speak much more knowledgeably about the use of homeopathics to help with calming. There are some combination homeopathic formulas that might be, kind of point and shoot. You can buy it off the shelf and give it without having to do that whole homeopathic diagnostic process as well. And then we get to my favorites, to the use of the cannabinoids, CBD, CBG, and to the use of mushrooms, particularly the mushroom that's called reishi and the mushroom that's called lion's mane. But there are many other, like all mushrooms, have been found to have a strong effect on the nervous system. Most mushrooms have a good effect on the nervous system. One mushroom, psilocybin, has a very special effect on the nervous system. We're looking at it now, actually, for generalized anxiety in people and for depression and things like that. I have no experience using psilocybin in dogs, and I can't really speak knowledgeably about it. And I'm not sure I can recommend anybody use it yet because I'm not sure what it's going to do. Got to figure that one out. But once I do, I will be talking about that too. But these other mushrooms, they have these molecules in them which cross the blood-brain barrier and stimulate receptors in the brain that produce serotonin. And serotonin is the neurotransmitter. It's very calming. Some people take tryptophan, which is a precursor to serotonin. You could give your dog tryptophan as well, which also can help to produce more serotonin, so it's calmer. But particularly, it's the lion's mane mushroom, which is the most popular mushroom in North America, and I would suspect getting to be that way in Australia, although I think there's been, for a while, you didn't have lion's mane in Australia until recently. It's the most popular mushroom because its effect on memory and cognition and stress, and Lord knows we're all pretty darn stressed these days. And then reishi mushroom, reishi mushroom is the mushroom of immortality, but it's used by Zen masters. The extract is used by Zen masters as a meditation aid. I made a supplement that combines the reishi and the lion's mane with tryptophan and some of those herbs I mentioned, passion flower and lemon balm and valerian and catnip even, into soft chews for dogs that work really well. And can work well for anxiety. That's with real mushrooms. They call those relaxed mushroom chews. But I found that when you combine that formula or the things that are in it, the lion's mane and reishi, you don't have to use that formula specifically, with CBD or with CBG, which is kind of a CBD on steroids. It's stronger than CBD and also has calming effects like CBD does, that you get an even more substantial response, that the animal is even calmer.